Good morning. We begin our live coverage on NASA television of mission STS-85 here at NASA's John F. Kennedy Space Center in Fire Room 3 of the Launch Control Center. Today, NASA will embark on the 86th Space Shuttle flight and its 16-year history of the Shuttle program. The near 11-day mission features the deployment and retrieval of a satellite designed to study Earth's middle atmosphere and significant tests of hardware that could be used in the assembly of the International Space Station. We are just hours away from the 23rd flight of the orbiter Discovery with a crew of 6 astronauts. Liftoff is planned at 10:41 a.m. Eastern Time, which is the opening of a 1-hour, 39-minute launch window. The window extends today until about 12:20 p.m. Eastern Time today. Weather conditions indicate we have a 60% chance of having acceptable weather for launch. The forecast has not changed. There's still a slight chance of having rain showers in the area, coupled with some possibility of having clouds in the area. Launch Pad 39A is the stage for the 6th shuttle launch of the year. All countdown events are on schedule, and the launch team here in Fire Room 3 is not tracking any technical issues. The crew members for this flight are awake and preparing for launch. STS-85 commander is a 3-time shuttle veteran, United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Kurt Brown, Jr. Navy Commander Kent Rominger, who has flown twice before on the shuttle, is the pilot, and he is also celebrating his 41st birthday today. Dr. Jan Davis is designated as the payload commander and is a veteran of 2 shuttle flights. Navy Lieutenant Commander Robert Curbeam, Jr. will serve as the flight engineer, and that's also designated as Mission Specialist 2. Curbeam is making his first flight on the shuttle today. Dr. Stephen Robinson is Mission Specialist 2 and is flying for the first time. Canadian astronaut Bjami Tryggvason is Payload Specialist 1 and is flying for the first time. The shuttle. This is Shuttle Launch Control. We have the flight crew at their breakfast table. We have Payload Commander Jan Davis. She's flying for the 3rd time today. And we have Bob Curbeam, shuttle rookie, flying for the first time today. And Commander Kurt Brown, making his 4th time in flight today. First time as commander. Kent Rominger, 2-time shuttle veteran. And we have Stephen Robinson flying for the first time today. And Canadian astronaut Bjami Tryggvason also flying on the shuttle for the first time today. Crew has been awake now for just about half an hour, getting ready for the first flight day on their upcoming mission. Crew is ready to go. They came to Florida Monday evening and have been at Kennedy Space Center preparing for the flight over the last couple of days. Yeah, we do have one birthday cake on the table today. And we've got also the shuttle insignia in the center of the table. Meanwhile, back out at the launch pad, things continue to go well for the preparations for the STS-85 launch today. First arrived at KSC early Monday evening at the shuttle landing facility. They flew in from Ellington Field in Houston, Texas in their T-38 training aircraft. And we do have a videotape of the crew as they arrived at Kennedy Space Center. It's traditional for the crew to arrive several days before the launch. They go through flight data file reviews, and the commander and pilot practice approaches and landings to the shuttle landing facility to hone their skills. They practice in the shuttle training aircraft. Crew also has medical exams while here at KSC prior to launch, and they perform fit checks of their flight crew equipment. They also have a little bit of free time to spend with spouses and close family members. Center Director Roy Bridges was there on hand to greet the crew at the runway on Monday evening when they arrived in Florida. Crew also receives status briefings on the STS-85 payloads and the Discovery vehicle itself, and weather conditions too. And pilot Kurt Brown made a few statements to the press.
Well, first of all, let me sincerely thank you for coming out here in the rain and spending the time and wait for us. We had to fight Mother Nature just a little bit to get down here this evening, but we took a little round flyby by the pad to take a look at the vehicle. We finished our first sim this morning at Johnson Space Center and successfully completed all our training. We rode by the pad and saw the vehicle, and it's a very clean vehicle. Discovery is ready to go. And so we're really happy to be down here again. We were just down here a couple weeks ago for TCDT, and now we're happy to be back for the real thing. Thank you very much.
Again, the crew now up having breakfast. There's Jan Davis, Commander Kurt Brown, pilot Kent Rominger, Robert Curbeam, and Canadian astronaut Bjami Tryggvason. All looking forward to the STS-85 mission today. Crew has been in Florida since Monday. All continue. And we have live pictures of the flight crew in the crew quarters. We've got Commander Kurt Brown, who's just walked into the suit-up room following the weather briefing. This is his fourth flight, and he has overall responsibility for commanding the flight. This will be his first flight as commander. He served as pilot of 3 previous missions on STS-92 in 1992, 94, and 96. And we have pilot Kent Rominger. As pilot, he will assist Brown at the flight controls. This will be his 3rd flight and his birthday today. He's 41 years old. He will also be assisting Commander during the rendezvous and retrieval of the Krista Spa's payload, and will also be involved in several payloads, including the solid surface combustion experiment. We have Canadian astronaut Bjami Tryggvason making his first flight on the shuttle today. Tryggvason was born in Reykjavik, Iceland. He will be focusing on tests of the microgravity vibration isolation mount. Numerous checks are made of the suits before the crew goes out to the launch pad, so any modifications or tweaking can be made. Across the room we have the mission specialist. We've got Jan Davis. She's making her 3rd flight today. She's the payload commander with overall responsibility of servicing tasks. She will operate the robot arm to deploy and retrieve the German Krista Spa's payload. She'll also be involved in the manipulator flight demonstration, which is a small, fine robot arm built by the Japanese Space Agency. And we have mission specialist Robert Curbeam making his first flight today on the shuttle. He serves as flight engineer and will assist the commander and pilot with ascent and re-entry checklists and in monitoring all vehicle systems. He'll be involved in several experiments, including research of colon cancer on board the shuttle for this flight. And we have mission specialist Stephen Robinson. This will be his first flight. He is the prime mission specialist for the Krista Spa's payload, and he will work with Jan Davis with the robot arm activity and will operate several experiments. Robinson started working for NASA in 1975 as a co-op student at the Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California. He's been involved as a research scientist in the fields of fluid dynamics, aerodynamics, experimental instrumentation, and he was selected as an astronaut 3 years ago. Crew is getting ready for their 10-day, 20-hour mission. Ready to go. Had a good night's rest. We will be getting a view of the crew as they are being strapped into the crew cabin today. We have a small camera that will be mounted inside the crew cabin, and we'll be able to see some of the activity that goes on with getting the crew ready and inside Discovery's crew module after they arrive out at the pad. Crew's getting ready for a 10-day mission. Getting ready for a 10-day mission featuring the deployment and retrieval of the Crystal Spas Earth Observing Telescope platform and also tests of the future space station activities with the Japanese-provided robot arm. Crew's been in training for quite a while, the better part of the year, to get ready for this important flight. Again, we expect the crew to be arriving out at the launch pad just before 8 o'clock this morning. And we will have an added feature today that will have 2 very small cameras mounted inside the crew cabin, and we'll be able to get a look at crew as they're getting strapped in. Processing activities here at Kennedy Space Center to prepare for this flight went very smoothly. We have a brief videotape that illustrates operations completed in the last few months to prepare the shuttle Discovery and vehicle elements for launch. The orbiter was backed out of the processing facility in early July, just after the 4th of July holiday. The boosters and external tank were stacked in parallel in the vehicle assembly building while the work was going on in the orbiter processing facility. Once in the transfer aisle, the huge overhead crane was connected to the shuttle, and shuttle was hoisted into position as it is here, and the work stands placed around the vehicle to allow workers access to complete testing and inspections. Discovery was rolled out to pad 39A on about July 14th. Discovery's last flight was STS-85, which was conducted earlier this year. The countdown demonstration test with the flight crew was conducted just a few weeks ago, and flight crew was certified in emergency escape procedures. This is the orbiter access arm as it was attached to the vehicle once Discovery rolled to the pad last month, and the rotating service structure was then moved into position around the orbiter to allow the installation of the payloads and also access to various parts of the vehicle for the Kennedy launch team. Payloads were installed into the payload bay out at the launch pad in the vertical position. And the payload bay doors were closed for flight early Tuesday morning during our countdown. Countdown began on time at the T-minus 43 hour mark at about 3 p.m. on Monday. Count has been going very smoothly, which leads us up to this morning, and our planned liftoff at 10:41 a.m. The manipulator flight demonstration experiment is sponsored by NASA, the Japanese space agency. It consists of 3 separate experiments located on a support truss in the payload bay, and it's designed to demonstrate applications of a mechanical arm for possible use on the Japanese experiment module for future International Space Station. The Technology Applications and Science experiment holds 7 separate investigations that will provide data on the Earth's topography and atmosphere. It will study the sun's energy and test new thermal control devices. The International Extreme Ultraviolet Hitchhiker payload consists of 4 experiments that will study ultraviolet radiation from the stars, the sun, and other sources in the solar system. And the Christoph Spas payload, one of the primary payloads for the flight, is involved in investigations that will enable NASA to continue the study of natural and human-induced changes in Earth's environment to Planet Earth Enterprise. This payload will be deployed on the first day, which is later on today, and retrieved on flight day 9. This payload is battery-powered, and it's a free flyer. Payloads were installed into the payload canister, which was then transported to the launch pad and then subsequently installed into Discovery's payload bay. All activities went and very successfully.
TLS auto sequence has been initiated.
In the next few minutes, pilot Rominger will be flipping switches in the orbiter's crew cabin to directly connect the 3 fuel cells to the essential power buses.
TLT-OTC, configure the fuel cell essential bus source switches. That's in work, coaching. NOTC PLT, essential bus source fuel cell, 3 of them connected on. Copy.
T-minus 8 minutes and counting. In the next few seconds, the orbiter crew access arm at the 195-foot level will be retracted away from the vehicle and into the launch configuration. This arm can be re-extended in just a few seconds if necessary. T-minus 7 minutes, 30 seconds.
Go for OAA retract.
And the access arms now being retracted away from the vehicle, back toward the launch tower. Everything still looking good for launch. Discovery remains in a go configuration. Flight crew indicating they are ready to start their mission today.
RPS OTC, start the APU and hydraulic strip chart recorders.
RPS copies, that is complete.
And PLT OTC, perform the APU pre-start.
APU pre-start inward.
Orbiter test conductor Roger Gillette giving pilot Rominger a go for the start of auxiliary power units. They are actually started at the T-minus 5 minute mark.
CPLT, APU pre-start complete. 3 gauge talkbacks.
All systems continuing to look very good for launch today of Discovery on mission STS-85. T-minus 5 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. Again, coming up on starting the auxiliary power units. That's the next event in our count today. T-minus 5 minutes.
Orbiter APU start.
PLT OTC, perform APU start.
APU start inward.
And CDR, reconfigure heaters.
CDR heaters inward.
In the next few seconds.
Copy.
APU start complete.
Copy.
And we have 3 good auxiliary power units for Discovery today. And in the next few seconds, we'll have a final purge sequence of the main engine. The engine valves are being opened to prepare for start. T-minus 4 minutes and counting.
TLS go for a purge sequence 4.
A profile test of the orbiter's aero surfaces has started. The orbiter flight control surfaces are being moved through a pre-programmed pattern to verify they are ready for launch. And the 3 main engines will be gimbaled and positioned for launch. All systems are go for launch at this time, just a few minutes away from the 23rd voyage of Discovery with a crew of 6. T-minus 3 minutes and counting. The gaseous oxygen vent hood.
ET-LO2 pressurization.
The vent hood is situated at the top of the external tank. That will be retracted away in the next few seconds. And the external tank is being pressurized for flight.
PLT OTC, clear the caution warning memory. Verify no unexpected errors.
That's inward, OTC. OTC PLT. Warning memory cleared. No unexpected errors.
Copy. And flight crew, close and lock your visors. Initiate O2 flow. On behalf of the launch team, good luck with your mission. And Rommel, happy birthday. We're about to light your candles.
Thanks for that birthday wish. Will be the 2 best candles I ever had. And Discovery copies visors and pseudo 2.
PLS is go for ET, LH2, pressurization.
Pilot Kent Rominger celebrating his 41st birthday today with the launch here. About a minute and a half to launch. The 6-member crew about to embark on the 86th shuttle flight, ready to study Earth's middle atmosphere and test robotics for use on the space station. At T-minus 31 seconds, Discovery's onboard computers will have control of all vehicle functions. T-minus 1 minute. All systems are go for launch of Discovery. T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds.
PLS is go for auto sequence start.
25.
Water will be dumped onto the launch platform in a few seconds to help suppress the sound and shock of the thrust produced by the shuttle at launch. T-minus 15 seconds. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. We have a go for main engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery on a mission to study planet Earth.
Roll program, Houston.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Houston is now controlling. The roll maneuver is complete. Discovery is now in a heads down, wings level position, headed to a 160 nautical mile orbit.
Ram dilemma manifold.
Copy. No action on the dilemma.
Seconds into Discovery's 8.5-minute climb to orbit this morning. All 3 main engines now throttling down to 67% of rated thrust as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle in the lower regions of the Earth's atmosphere. Telemetry indicates all 3 auxiliary power units and fuel cells continuing to perform well. Discovery now downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 3.5 miles at an altitude of about 7 miles.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Copy. Go at throttle up.
1 minute, 22 seconds into the flight, Discovery's 3 liquid-fueled engines are now back at full throttle, 104% of rated thrust. Discovery now traveling at a speed of 1,900 miles per hour at an altitude of 16 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 13 miles. The next event will be the burnout and separation of Discovery's twin solid rocket boosters. Again, telemetry currently indicating all 3 main engines, auxiliary power units, and fuel cells continuing to perform well. Discovery now at a speed of 2,800 miles per hour, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 27 miles. Two minutes, 15 seconds into the flight.
Discovery, performance is nominal.
Copy. Performance nominal.
The booster officer here in the flight control room confirms good separation of the solid rocket boosters, and Discovery's performance so far in its flight has been as expected. Discovery now downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 53 miles, traveling at a speed of 3,250 miles per hour.
Discovery, 2-engine Maroon.
Copy, 2-engine Maroon.
And Discovery, you may get additional right RM dilemma manifold messages, no action.
We copy, thank you.
Discovery could now reach the transatlantic landing site at Maroon, Spain, in the event that a transatlantic landing was required. However, telemetry continuing to indicate all 3 engines continuing to perform well. 3 minutes, 17 seconds into its 8.5-minute climb to orbit. Discovery now downrange from the Kennedy Space Center 100 miles at an altitude of about 55 miles. Speed currently 4,100 miles per hour.
Discovery, negative return.
Copy, negative return.
4 minutes, 5 seconds into the flight, Discovery is now too far downrange and has gained too much altitude to return to the Kennedy Space Center in the event of an engine failure. However, telemetry indicating all 3 main engines are continuing to perform well. Just about 4 minutes remaining in Discovery's climb to orbit this morning. Discovery now at a speed of 5,300 miles per hour, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 177 miles. Five minutes into its climb to orbit this morning. Discovery now at a speed of 6,500 miles per hour.
Discovery, press ATO, select Zaragoza.
Copy, press ATO, select Zaragoza.
With that call, Discovery can now reach orbit on 2 engines should one fail. Again, however, all 3 main engines are continuing to perform well. Discovery now at a speed of over 7,200 miles per hour, downrange from the launch site at a distance of 290 miles.
Discovery, single engine ops 3.
Copy, single engine ops 3.
Six minutes into its climb to orbit this morning, about 2.5 minutes remaining. Discovery now at an altitude of 367, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 370 miles.
Discovery, single engine Zaragoza, 104.
Copy, single engine Zaragoza, 104.
With that call, spacecraft communicator Dom Gorey informing the crew that Discovery could now reach orbit on 1 engine should 2 fail. However, telemetry indicating that all 3 engines are still performing at 104% of rated thrust. Discovery speed now in excess of 9,800 miles per hour, 6 minutes, 34 seconds into the flight.
Discovery, single engine press, 104.
Copy, single engine press, 104.
7 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight, Discovery can now reach orbit on 1 engine should 2 fail. However, all 3 engines continuing to perform well, as are the auxiliary power units and fuel cells.
Press to MECO.
Copy, press to MECO.
That call indicating that Discovery could now reach a safe orbit on 2 engines should 1 fail. 7 minutes, 45 seconds into the flight, Discovery's engines are now throttling back to maintain structural limits on the orbiter as it approaches loads near 3 times normal gravity. Now traveling at a speed of over 14,000 miles per hour, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center more than 700 miles. Now 8 minutes, 43 seconds into the flight, the booster officer here in Mission Control has confirmed an on-time main engine cutoff.
Discovery Houston, we show a nominal MECO. OMS 1 is not required. You have a go for the ET photo DTO.
Copy. Nominal MECO, OMS 1 not required.
The booster officer has also confirmed separation of the external fuel tank. Now 9 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Discovery now traveling at a speed of over 17,000 miles per hour. Crew members will now begin the process of taking some photographic surveys of the external fuel tank as it begins its descent back towards the surface of the Earth.
And Houston, we concur. Good, OMS 2. And Houston, if you have good data there, we're ready for the gimbal check.
Discovery, we're ready for the OMS gimbal check as written.
Okay, here it comes.